So Anna, what do you think about this conversation about theological education in youth work?
I think without a good foundation in theology, our youth work leaves itself open to being too wishy-washy and not having the strength that young people deserve and that as an occupation that it demands.
Yeah, I think that as well, that young people aren't afraid to dig deep in their theology, to ask some really good questions, and that sometimes we can be a little bit quick and say, oh, it's just, that's the way it is, just trust God. And actually they want to know, well, why is it like that?
Yeah, and also to model to them that our God is big enough to ask questions of, and that questions are good, and that even disagreements can be embraced, and that we can disagree well, and we can explore why do we believe what we believe, and what are the implications of what we believe on how we practice, and how does what we practice affect our theology about what we believe.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. I was chatting to some youth workers just last week about what denomination they're part of, and understanding the theology behind their denomination, so they know, well, why have I chosen this? And so as their young people are wrestling with, why do I go to church? Why do our church do this? Why does our church not do that? To be able to explore that.
Absolutely. And just that the encouragement to be literate, to be biblically literate, and also to have some understanding of the church history that led us to be here is really fascinating. And it helps us to feel more confident to tell our story well to those for people who haven't got the same worldview as us, and to give confidence that they're not going to bite our heads off, and that we can engage our brains as much as our heart and soul, and to be proud of that, and to embrace that, and to enjoy that, and to practice that in a safe place where we can fall and pick ourselves back up again, and there's a community love and care that enables us to tease those things out in a good place.
Yeah. And I think that literacy, being able to own your theology and talk about that. Often, sometimes in some churches, youth work's kind of seen as this lesser thing. It's not as important as mainstream ministry, as perhaps the role of the church leader. But actually, that's why studying theology is really important. So youth workers can say, actually, I've studied that. I get that. I can dialogue at this level as well. Yeah.
And I remember we had Tim Goff came in to speak to us, and he was really passionate about how to interpret stories involving young people in Scripture, and how legitimate a part they played, and what we can tease out of that in terms of our exegesis and the hermeneutic that we will bring to Scripture, and that those two things are totally woven together. We compartmentalize too much, and it's really exciting when we cross those things together and they pollinate, and it's really cool to see how that pays out.
And I think one of the things for me as well is about the importance of being able to offer the best to young people, and that when we kind of aren't willing ourselves to study a bit of theology, aren't willing to wrestle with things ourselves, that then we're not offering the best to young people.
Yeah, what are we modelling? Yeah. It is about, like, if secular youth work can achieve these good standards, then with the empowerment of the Holy Spirit in that brilliant theological education, then we can offer real excellence, real kind of industry-leading excellence, with additionality in terms of our full understanding of holistic spiritual well-being. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Thanks for chatting.
You too.